Hello, welcome to the pilot episode of YepBoat podcast. So, what is this? Well, it's a podcast, meaning I sit here and talk about the game of Battlegrounds. So it's a podcast, meaning I'm not gonna do fancy animations and effects. So you can tab out and play a game yourself, or go through your morning routine, drink your cup of coffee, while I give you a short update on the meta or whatever is interesting to talk about. Today we're gonna talk about, well, the meta, as long as it's gonna last, because a patch is hopefully gonna hit us soon. About Khadgar. Khadgar is a big issue that's talked about a lot right now. Elistra that got nerfed right after. I mean, not right after. Took a little bit for them to nerf, and we'll discuss how the nerfs affected her. And esports, which is a very exciting topic because I love Battlegrounds esports, but they don't exist yet. But maybe we're getting them in like a week or so. So let's jump straight into it. Let's start with the meta. So the meta right now, if you haven't played yet or not enough to know what the meta is like, it is very greedy in a sense. It's a lot about power leveling. Like the greedy heroes, the best heroes right now are Elise and Omu. Maiev is probably still up there. Maiev is almost always up there. But heroes like Yogg, for example, are really shit right now, which is weird because Yogg can power level with the tempo he gets. So the difference is tempo heroes are horrible. I remember when Edwin used to be playable. When Maleficent was playable, every hero like Kaltas was in a really good spot in the previous meta or 2 metas ago. Now they all suck. The only good heroes are the ones that can level quickly. So greed, this meta is very greed heavy. You need 6s and 5s early. Some people like the meta, some don't. I think I liked the meta a lot when it first came out, and now it's kind of too much on the greedy side. But yeah, like I said, it's very likely we're gonna have a patch soon, or at least I hope so. It's been a while. I mean, previous patch just nerfed Elistra. That's not enough. We need more. Blizzard, please. So I think the meta shifted a lot from when it first came out to where it is now. And to give an example, when the new heroes got introduced, the 3 old gods, they sucked. Or like Khadgar was horrible. No one, like Khadgar had a super low win rate, and I think it was super balanced. I think it was the most fun meta we've had in a while. Because Elise was good, but she was not that oppressive yet, and most heroes were okay. And then all of a sudden, the meta started to shift, and Khadgar is now, I think, second best or third best in top 1% according to HS Replay, which is nuts. Like, how was Khadgar able to go from literally the worst hero to almost always like on the top, one of the best? And being Elise and Omu being even more oppressive. And I think it's because there's less pressure in the early game, and less tempo. Tempo heroes are bad now because Khadgar was bad because he just died before he got too much value from your hero power. If your hero power turn 1 or 2, you would take too much damage. In the next couple turns, people were too strong and you would die. Same reason why Omu and Elise were not as strong at the start of the meta, because they were kept in check by the tempo heroes early on. So tempo was still playable. But now, because tempo heroes are so falling off and people are power leveling more, like I had a lobby where everyone power leveled to tier 4. No one stayed on tier 3. And then half of the lobby went straight to tier 5. Like, that's insane. And then, of course, some heroes went straight to 6 as well. I face Yserias that make it to tier 6 now, which is nuts. So the pressure early slacked off. And then, because of that, Khadgar has enough time to get the hero power up to high value. Then it gets like insane amount of stats from just 2 gold that you press every turn. And that's why Khadgar is now one of the best, because he can survive the early game, and late game he's pretty good, you know? I don't know what they should do to fix it. You could nerf heroes. I've heard that heroes is a big problem. The balance with heroes. I think units overall are okay. I think they're also, I'll mention spells, because I think spells are new for a while, right? In a month they're probably gone, but they do contribute to the meta. Of course, I can't ignore spells. So I wonder how the meta is going to be like without spells, and I think it's going to be better, which is sad because I like spells and I think they're actually very balanced. But for this power level meta, they're not good because they allow power level heroes to cheat economy, or to cheat tempo. Like, I think that's the main issue. So often I see Elise's play, or Omu's, myself included, and you get a +1/+1 spell on your entire board. So you go wide with a couple tokens, play the spell, you're strong. It's as if you found a spawn that's permanent on your board, and then you can just power level without taking too much damage. So tempo heroes aren't as good anymore because everyone can now get tempo. Same with like the gold spell. Elise can now have much better turns with the gold. Same with Khadgar or any other hero that needs to use their hero power for power leveling. You can just spend the gold to power level and make especially the 6 gold turn as like really good because you have 5 gold. There's also the tier 1 unit that you can get. You can find a token and then you can level, sell hero power as Elise. Like Elise is my main example now because I think she's just insane at the moment. But this works for most heroes that have a hero power that enables them to power level and get super strong. And not just that, but spells, I think they're like oddly balanced, which is weird because it feels like, oh, you hit the good spells, you high roll, you win. But overall, I think most spells have the same power level. There are, of course, bad spells like the big banana early on, and you don't take it. There are better spells, of course, but very rarely I get offered 3 spells and I'm like, shit, this is not gonna help me. Very often something helps me, even if it's not the ideal spells. They're gonna fill in what I need. So it's very healthy in a way that if you fall behind in the game, you have comeback mechanics. But if you're greedy and you're ahead, you have ways to get more ahead. So I think the spell should just be comeback mechanics, if that makes sense. Like on the house is the biggest issue. If you're on tier 5 as Elise and you get on the house, you can level to tier 6 and discover 2 6-stars. Same with Omu, same with any hero. It allows you to power level when you're ahead and discover, like hit a triple basically for free. So on the house is a spell that is not that good in my opinion, or not that balanced, even though it's a cool concept. But there are spells like Brand's Blessing, which I think are really good. Of course, not with Khadgar in the game, but let's think that Khadgar is not here right now. Then Brand's Blessing is a really good comeback mechanic. The Bouncer is good. Roll Rules is good. That's for people who are weak. They're scared of dying. They can just take a spell to like kind of get back in the game and have that additional tempo. So in that regard, I like the spells. But there's a couple that should be looked at for sure. Now, let's talk about Khadgar, okay? Because Khadgar is like one of the most controversial topics right now. I personally am of the opinion that it's really unhealthy for the game. And I didn't think that until a couple weeks ago. I don't know why, but I used to like Khadgar a lot myself. I used to do Khadgar transitions back when, what's it called? The fish, the Exodia fish, you know, the one that gets a Divine Shield whenever another unit loses a Divine Shield. So when that was in the game, I love Khadgar, because you can just transition into literally Exodia that's unbeatable. Which feels like cheating, honestly. So that's why I practiced it, I mastered it, and quickly after that, the fish got removed from the game, which is obvious. It's just broken. I'll just leave that in the past. We move on, but sadly, there's still ways for Khadgar to be abused. There's no like instant Exodia anymore, but there's still Amalgadons. You can still, like, Caligos is still insane, one of the best ways to scale on tier 6, and the fact that you can just get multiple Caligos as early as turn 8 or 9 should not be here. Now, yeah, like instant win compositions are just not healthy for the game. Same reason as Scallywag combo is kind of toxic, because you can have nothing. I have a game up on my second channel where I had nothing. I was so weak, I should have had top 8, but I just found an Eliza and I was like, I said, fuck it, I'm gonna get some Scallywags, a Baron, Khadgars, and we won that game. Just because I had an immense amount of stats out of nowhere with just tier 1 units, Scallywags, and then Eliza. Like, that should also probably not be there. Main offender is again Khadgar, because with just Baron, I think it's probably balanced. Like, it's not that big of a deal then. Now, I will mention I had a really interesting discussion with Jay Kirik, if you guys don't know him. He's a leaderboard player as well. He loves Khadgar. And we had a really informative discussion on Twitter. He likes Khadgar a lot, which I understand, because Khadgar transitions are fun to pull off, don't get me wrong. Khadgar is really fun to succeed in, like the APM, the hype. But it also comes with exploits. You also have to restart the game at a firewall thingy, which having to add something like that into the game to make it more competitive. Like in higher ranks, you have to restart so often in order to have a competitive advantage. That should not be in the game. It's just unfair for those who, let's say, play on mobile, right? Or for those who don't want to go through that trouble. They're at a disadvantage because they don't use an exploit. It's not technically cheating, but that's a discussion for another time. Let's stick with Khadgar here. So the main reason why he liked Khadgar is because it has a really high skill floor. So what that means is you have skill floors and skill ceilings. Skill ceilings is how much potential something has, like the maximum skill cap of something. Skill floor is how hard it is to master. So let's say Beast has a very low skill floor, I think, because you just need to find Goldrun, and then everyone knows you pick up Macaws, Baron, and Beast without death rattles and a taunt. So the skill floor is very low. Most people can learn it and get good at it. The skill ceiling, however, is like pretty high, but not insanely high, mainly because of positioning, like how to play taunt, when to play Elistra, play around cleave, where do you position your cleaves, your Goldruns, stuff like that, right? How do you progress in the game as well? So that's skill floor, skill ceiling for you. Well, Brand Khadgar has a super high skill floor, and the skill ceiling is a little bit above that, like probably the highest skill ceiling out there anyway, but the fact is the skill floor, like it's really hard to master and practice. So it feels bad if you master the Khadgar transition, because you put so much time into it, you're really good at it, you can just win games with it, but it doesn't justify the fact that it's an instant win combo. No matter how hard something is to achieve or to practice, if it makes you instant win, it should not be in the game. Because as soon as you learn it and you practice it, you can pull it off pretty consistently, unless Bob is being an ass and you're not hitting the good pieces. But if you can consistently hit an Exodia-like combo, should not be in a competitive game, or it just should not. Even though it has risk reward, you have to set up for it, you have to get ready for it. Any instant win should not be in the game, no matter how hard it is to achieve. That's just my opinion, and I think a lot of people share that opinion, because it feels really bad if you're playing the game fair, playing for your outs, playing for tempo, how the game is meant to be played, and you lose to someone who suddenly has 2 Amalgadons, Golden Megasaur is gone, Golden Caligos and stuff like that on the board. It just feels so bad, because no matter how well you try to play, you can't beat it. So I don't think it's an excuse to say it's a hard combo, and it comes with its own risks, because the reward is much higher than the risk. So people want it removed, want Khadgar removed. Now another option is tokens being removed, mainly Alicat and Tidehunter. But that comes with its own problems, meaning tokens are the bread and butter of the game, the turn ones, right? Something token-like they introduced is the Salamental, and they also introduced Swabby. Swabby is not really a token, but it helps with some leveling curves as well, just like a token would. Like, let's look at Omu, for example. Swabby turn 1 allows you to buy another unit turn 2, the same as a token. But if you remove tokens from the game, essentially other heroes won't be able to, like, there's going to be a bigger power gap between the people who hit Salamental turn 1 and those who don't. Right now, it's not that hard to find a token, honestly, because there's like 3 good tokens. I include Salamental here in the pool. So most people actually find a token, honestly, in a lobby, and it allows some economy plays. The economy early game is very interesting now because of tokens with power levels and spawn getting more value and do your role and stuff like that. But if you take away tokens, the early game is going to be very stale and boring, because it's just who gets the best 2-star units. They're stronger than everyone else, right? No one's going to beat that. Who gets the best 1-stars, they're going to be stronger. It's just about who just rolls the best units, because without tokens, it's literally turn 3, you sell your unit, buy 2 as always. But with tokens, there's an interesting economy aspect of I could power level, I could roll, I could keep an extra unit on the board. So maybe the shop is not the strongest, but I have this token that I can use. So economy is a really interesting aspect to the game that I think they should not touch too much, because I think it's pretty balanced right now in the early game. Apart from, well, too much economy allowing the power level heroes to spike. But taking away tokens is gonna mess that up. A good thing about taking away tokens though is Gendis. They're gonna balance Gendis that way, because Gendis is so shit to play against if they have a token turn 1. If a token turn 1, they very often like guarantee a top 3. It's nuts, because they get a triple on tier turn 3, because they get to power hero power the main body, get it back, triple the token that is summoned, and then the lobby is just fucked. And they get another triple using that same token on tier 4 into a 5-star pretty early on. It just, if they hit Khadgar as well, it's like insane. But maybe they should just rework Gendis, or maybe if Khadgar is removed, Gendis is gonna drop in power level as well. I don't know. I think getting rid of Khadgar is still better than Token. I like Khadgar, trust me. I love Khadgar. So many cool interactions. Just too broken with tokens, sadly. If and removing tokens, I don't think is a worse option because, well, it's gonna make the early game less interesting. And also, I think it's cool that you can like triple the token and then the main body get 2 triples from 1 unit. Same with Elemental. So yeah, that's my opinion on Khadgar. Leave your own opinions on Khadgar down below because I know a lot of people like to have different opinions on Khadgar, and I think it's good to talk about, which is the reason I am including it here in the YepBoat podcast. Now, Elistra. Let's talk about Elistra because she was also a really big problem when she first got released. So I thought Elistra was going to be really bad. I'm not going to lie. In my meta update, I rated her pretty low. I said she's not going to make an impact because she doesn't scale. She has no tribe. She's basically just an upgraded Bronze Warden, right? Turns out an upgraded Bronze Warden is really strong. A 7/7, essentially she deals 28 damage to your opponents, maybe even more, to your opponent's board, which is the most tempo unit, like the biggest tempo unit on tier 6. Nothing compares to Elistra, because it has a 7/7 with Divine Shield, okay. It deals 7 damage to something. So then the shield comes off, then it dies, and then it comes back as a 7/1 with Divine Shield. Deals 7 damage again, 7 damage again. It clears almost an entire board on its own if you hit it early. So the biggest issue was just the tempo early. So I think it's a good thing they just reduced their stats, and I think she's pretty balanced now. She's still a good tempo unit, but she's not as oppressive anymore. If you hit it early, it's a 4/4, so meaning a single Cyclone can now take out the first respawn, and then 2 tokens can kill the second one. So I think it is okay because people put Cyclone first, and then Elistra isn't that big of a deal. And it's a good tech unit. It's a tech unit on tier 6. Tech units on tier 6 should overall just be strong, right? Why else is it on tier 6? So I think it adds depth to the late game as well. It allows you to play better around like Dragon's Wit and Nadine, because you can play it. It's gonna take off 4 shields, or 3 if they put the Nadine first, of course. But same with Max. Like Max is not that strong, but it's attack against Max. I think it's just, and against Amalgadons and stuff like that. I think it's just a really good tech unit to have in the game. But it's not that different as just the Reborn Taunt, actually, now that I think about it. The Acolyte of Cthulhu, I think it's called. The 2/2 Reborn Taunt on tier 1. You play 2 of those, that's almost an Elistra, because it also tanks the 4 first hits from your opponent. But of course, it needs another board spot. So it's just an upgraded version of that, I would say. So it adds depth. It makes the game more complex in late game, which I like, because you gotta play around it. You can roll it yourself, and it's hard to scale because it doesn't have a tribe. So it's something that people just put in for a turn to play around stuff. So it's good. I like it. It makes Amalgadons less oppressive because it can get rid of their shields. So I think Elistra right now is pretty balanced. I know people are still complaining about her because she's annoying, but she's annoying because she's a good tech unit. So if you learn how to play around her properly, she shouldn't be that big of a deal. Yeah, and I think that's it for Elistra overall. I like her. She's a fun unit now. Now, esports. Okay, I'm a big fan of esports. I loved Battlegrounds tournaments. I've competed in a few. I got 17th twice, while top 16 advanced to the finals. So I don't want to talk about my experience on those. But they're still little tournaments. And when tournaments are organized, they're very small often. They're just like streamers that organize a tournament. I want to do a tournament soon, so well, look out for that. But it's a lot of effort that goes into it, of course. So big tournaments for Battlegrounds rarely happen, which is weird. I'm not gonna lie. Battlegrounds is one of the biggest game modes in Hearthstone right now. If you look at Twitch, you're gonna see that most top streamers are playing Battlegrounds instead of Standard. So I think that says something about the game. I think most of the player base is moving to Battlegrounds. It's also getting more frequent updates. So why are we not getting any esports? Well, I think that's going to be answered soon, because on Twitter we got a post from Hearthstone Esports, saying they're gonna announce the esports schedule next week. They're taking a lot of time. Even people wanted like updates in last year, December, and then they posted, I'll have to wait until January. And then it's now mid-January, and now they still post an update from, okay, it's gonna take us another week. So they're putting a lot of time and effort into this, and I'm very hyped because I feel like they're just coming up with this whole new system for Battlegrounds. There's no way they put this much time in just another normal constructed esports system, right? Maybe they do. Maybe they're reworking the GM system. I don't know what system they have now for, like, I don't follow standard Hearthstone anymore, but I know a lot of people are tweeting about it being pretty bad. So they might just look at fixing that, but I have high hopes. Okay. Now, would they do Battlegrounds though? Like a GM system, a ladder system? Because right now they did say that standard ladder matters. The top, what was it, 36, I think, of the ladder are gonna continue into, I don't know, competing tournaments. But for Battlegrounds, I think that's a really bad idea. Let me explain why. We have ranks, like top. We can see who the top players are in Battlegrounds, but there have been so many MMR exploits, like bugs with MMR and broken stuff, and you have hidden MMR that messes you up so much that they should not use MMR as a system for esports, I think. Because a lot of people abuse MMR, and yeah, sometimes like when the rank floor MMR was a thing, meaning, you know, there was a rank floor, you couldn't drop below it, and people exploited that. Most people on top of the leaderboards did get their hidden MMR reset, but there might be people who accidentally exploited by just losing a lot at rank floor, or people who don't stream or didn't make it to the top of the leaderboards. Their hidden MMR still doesn't match up with their actual MMR. Before that, there were multiple other exploits. I'm not going to go in depth. I think Patra did a really good video on it. So you can look it up. Just type in Google MMR exploits, Patra. But the hidden MMR is a mess. Okay, people who are new to the game are never going to get top of the leaderboard anymore unless they play 24/7 for like over a month. And yeah, it's nuts. Well, people who are already in the game can get it in a couple days, because of how their hidden MMR works. So the resets, if they want to do it with actual MMR, they need to do a hard reset. That's it. And give everyone a fair and level playing field. The good players are still going to be on the top, obviously, because they're good at the game. They can play consistently, and you know, they're going to outperform others. So I still don't understand why they're not resetting hidden MMR. It's such a mess. So many people don't like hidden MMR. They want to see their actual real MMR. Last season, I was hard stuck at 11.5k, which is my lowest MMR ever to be like reaching at the end of a season. Well, the season before that, I was 13.7. I was top 25, and it's because hidden MMR, like I gained no MMR anymore, and I couldn't climb. This season now, I went with my plus 300 win streak all the way to leaderboards. I'm now sitting at 12.8, I think, which is just barely leaderboards, but I still get like 90 plus a win, while some people get 80 or 70. So I'm still going up, while the previous season that was not the case. Like, how did my hidden MMR change so much within one season? Don't use MMR Blizzard, please. And if you do, there needs to be a way to qualify. And then that brings me to the next issue. Games are super long. So compared to standard games, you can do lineups, right? Different decks, stuff like that. And then see who you can target your lineups, target your decks, deck cards. You can play a couple games in like 2 hours. You know who the better player is. Battlegrounds games can take up to half an hour, and everyone just has to wait because it's an 8-player lobby. So 8 players have to compete at the same time, and it's super hero dependent. Meaning if someone gets Elise, someone gets Maleficent, you know the Elise is like so much more favored than the Maleficent to, well, get into the top of the rankings. So because of that, Battlegrounds needs more games, a larger sample size. You need to play like 8 games with the same lobby, so everyone had like an equal chance of rolling good heroes and bad heroes. And like sometimes someone high rolls in early Khaligos and just wins the lobby, and no one is gonna do anything about that. And you're the next person to face him, even though you're second strongest in the lobby. You're gonna get 8th place. Like stuff like that happens in Battlegrounds, which doesn't happen in a 1v1 standard scenario. And because of that, they need to like have a larger sample size and more games in Battlegrounds. Now, an idea I had is, what if you have heroes with no hero power? Now, it comes with its own issues, of course. Like, it was just an idea, but I think it's worth throwing out there. If people don't have hero powers, the only high roll is like, oh, who hits a token early on? Who hits the first triple? But I think that's a better high roll to take than someone having Elise and someone having Jiraxis. Is it not? Would you rather be the Jiraxis and someone having the Omu hero power or the Maiev and hitting like 3 triples on turn 8 into a couple 6 drops while you're sitting there on tier 3 trying to survive? Or do you rather have no hero power and have your opponent have a token on tier 1 or like 1 extra unit? And then maybe him hitting 1 triple earlier? Because it gives everyone a level playing field. Everyone can high roll the same or low roll. I think you need a less big sample size then. Because people who high roll are not going to high roll as hard. No one is going to cheat economy. There's heroes that cheat economy. Everyone has to pay 3 gold for a unit. That's it. Unless you play pirates and find a hogger. Everyone has to spend 3 gold. Everyone has the same amount of buffs available. I think that's the most balanced way to do tournaments. Of course, it makes the game less interesting, right? But it puts it more into the skill category and less of the fun high roll category. But we're in Hearthstone. Like there's always going to be RNG involved. There's no way to play around it. RNG is going to be a thing. I don't think my idea about no hero powers is ever going to be introduced. But I think it's a fun way to look at balancing the game more in like more skill depth environment. Does that even? I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. But yeah, tournaments are going to be super long, so qualifiers are going to take ages. Not everyone is going to have time for that. People have jobs very often. I remember last time there was a tournament like this. It took 8 rounds, and it happened. It started at like 1 a.m. my time. People went till 7 a.m. Like it's not doable sometimes. So they should have qualifiers, not use MMR system, but they need to find a way. Like maybe they spread the games, right? Or maybe they give everyone a hero. Everyone gets to play Elise. Everyone gets to play this hero. Everyone gets to play this hero. That's probably the most balanced way. But I don't think that's ever going to be the case. I think it's always going to be a bit of an RNG fiesta. But hey, welcome to Hearthstone. I think that's most of what I had to say. We talked about the meta. Meta is okay. It's been worse, I'll put it that way. But you have to level more and hit really good scaling. Khadgar hopefully gets removed. We could remove tokens, but again, let me know what you think down below, because I think this is a really interesting topic to discuss. Elistra right now is luckily, I think the nerf was really good. I think she's balanced. She's still strong, but I'm okay with it. And then, yeah, I'm excited for esports. So that's it for this very first YepBoat. Now, I would love to hear feedback down below. I'm working on a logo, working on more branding. Like I'm trying to make this fancier, but I thought I'll just kick this off right away to see how it is received by you guys, if you guys like it or not, and if I should continue. Also, yeah, I think that's everything. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it, and I'll catch you next time. There's no set schedule for these. I'll do these whenever there's something to talk about, because sometimes there's a month when nothing happens. Blizzard is dead. The meta is stale, nothing happens, then there's not going to be anything to post about. Yeah, I'll just upload regular videos, but if stuff happens, patch notes hit, or there's issues, I'm going to talk about it, and I hope you guys are willing to have a discussion with me in this podcast. Also, I plan on having guests on. I should probably say that at the start of this podcast, fuck. But yeah, I plan on getting guests here, like other good players that we can have a discussion with, so we have multiple points of view. But yeah. Thanks again. Have a good day. Don't forget to like and subscribe, of course, as always. It helps me out a lot. And comment your thoughts down below. Bye-bye.